Earlier today, we showed some love to the 2015 draft class, probably the best class in Vikings franchise history. But of course, us being Vikings fans, we got to be just a little bit negative. We got to find the worst. We got to find the worst draft class in Vikings franchise history. Now, my frame of reference for the team is about roughly early 90s back, because that's when I started paying attention to the game. So I have no real thoughts on, I don't know, 1974. I don't know. Oh, Matt Blair was in that class. It's a save. Where you look through the draft classes, and it can be bad, but there's always just one player that was a stud for a while, maybe a superstar, maybe a Pro Bowler, maybe even a Hall of Famer that just saves that class. But yeah, I have no real frame of reference to 73 Chuck Foreman. Like I know the highlights, but Jeff Simeon was a stud. But yeah, I have no strong opinions on Leo Hayden or Eddie Hackett or Vince Clements. Yeah, not so much. So we're going to dive in here. We're going to backtrack, and we're going to try and find the worst class in Vikings franchise history. Let's start with the 90s. And again, we're looking at just the draft picks. We're not factoring in UDFAs. We're not doing any of that, or trading out of the picks. So no. So we're going to start in 1990, because why not? So this was the year 90 where the Vikings did bring in John Randall as the UDFA, because Tampa Bay wanted him, the pride of Texas A&I Kingsville, except they wanted him to play linebacker, and then he was like, no. So also back in the day when the draft was on like a Tuesday and it was 17 rounds, Pete Rozelle just in the back chain smoking, Colts taking John Elway at 1. Great. So you look at a 1990 class where I don't recognize a lot of the names except for Terry Allen. Terry Allen coming out of Clemson. Terry Allen was a stud, man. He was low center of gravity, rocking the number 21. If he had healthy knees, I think that he would be more highly regarded in the pantheon of running backs. Also, he busted out in Washington. That's whatever. But this class, 91. So, this is when the Vikings were still feeling the sting from the Herschel Walker trade. You notice the lack of first and second round picks here. So the Vikings doing some work here in 1991, finding Jake Reed in the third round. Now, I know people always say, oh, Jake Reed, he's the third leg of the 3 deep, but he was a solid 1,000-yard receiver for a couple of seasons. So I think you'd have to give him some credit there. But the rest of his class, oh boy. And then you get into 1992. So Roy Barker was solid. Easy Ed McDaniel coming out of Clemson. Loved him. Was a solid middle linebacker for a number of years. Brad Johnson. Getting future Super Bowl winning quarterback Brad Johnson in the 9th round back in the day. That's great. Brad Culpepper was a solid defensive tackle for the Bucs mainly. Charles Evans was a fullback, I believe. There you go. 93. So you got Robert Smith, you got Quadri Ismail at 1-2. That's pretty damn good. And also, it's unfortunate. So Quadri, if he would have stayed with the Vikings, I think that he would have been really good. But he made his bones with the Ravens, won a Super Bowl in 2000, blah, blah, blah. Gilbert Brown? Really? Is this the Gilbert Brown? No. What happened here? I completely spaced that Gilbert Brown was drafted by the Vikings. What was it? So he didn't record any games. Was this a draft and trade situation? Huh. Anyway, it's your Gino Toretta. I remember Gino Toretta, man. So, my dad used to take me to training camp in Mankato, and also when they went to River Falls with the Chiefs. And I vaguely remember Gino Toretta, where he's supposed to be this Heisman Trophy winning guy, and he was just bad. He was just not good, man. And it was the first time that I realized that, the quarterback of a national championship college team might not be pro material, because maybe his level of play is jacked up because of all the talent around him. It's like Ken Dorsey leading the 2001 Hurricanes. We're just like, yeah, okay. Then you get 94. Dwayne Washington, solid corner for a number of years. Todd Stussy, liked him at left tackle. Held a little bit too much, but nah. David Palmer. I remember David Palmer coming out of Alabama, and he was a solid wide receiver 4, running back 4, kick return and punt return. He was very solid. Fernando Smith getting after on the D-line. Andrew Jordan. Not Steve Jordan. Andrew Jordan. Also, Pete Bursich. Yeah, we know Pete Bursich. That's right, baby. 95. So you haven't really found any stinkers yet. There's been classes where like one guy will save you. Where even though 91, the Vikings were still behind it with the Herschel Walker trade, he still plucked out Jake Reed. So we're not ready to write that one in. 94 is fine. 95, Derek Alexander, the late great Corey Stringer, the late great Orlando Thomas in the second round. That's great value, man. It is really good. Corey Fuller, solid cornerback coming out of Florida State. Chad May. So I remember Tecmo Super Bowl when it came out that year. Warren Moon was the quarterback for the Vikings at the time. I would always sub in Chad May coming out of Kansas State, baby. Let's go. Jason Fisk, James Stewart. I think James Stewart had a little bit of success with the Jaguars, I want to say. Maybe not. 96. So now we get into this run of always drafting SEC or ACC defensive linemen. So you got Derek Alexander, you got Dwayne Clemens. So 96 might be up there. So Dwayne Clemens didn't really pan out. Mo Williams in the third round coming out of Kentucky. I liked him as a running back too. Also, he was a recipient of the Randy Moss play, of course. So, I mean, 96 was not great. 97, look at Dwayne Rudd. Dwayne Rudd, his most famous moment was ripping his helmet off with the Browns and then causing a penalty and then losing. Whatever. Stalin Collinet, Torian Gray, Antonio Banks. Robert Tate. All right, so Robert Tate was a wide receiver at Cincinnati, and they converted him to cornerback. I believe that was the case. Matthew Hatchett, the only wide receiver to catch a touchdown in the 98 NFC title game against the Falcons. I think that's right. Otherwise, Moss caught one. Anyway, but this one, 97, that's not great. 98, Randy Moss, HOF. Kylie Wong. Kylie Wong was supposed to be good, man. Coming out of Washington State, I thought he was going to be the guy. Ramos McDonald from New Mexico. Let's see, Matt Burke in the 6th round. That was a great pickup. I love that. I love that one. 99, Dante. Yes. Demetrius Underwood. No. Klein Sasser. Klein Sasser in the 2nd round coming out of North Dakota. Not NDSU. North Dakota. Woo. Kenny Wright. 2000, Hovind, Robbins. Oh, we're trying to go Arby's. We got the meats in this draft. Chris Hovind coming out of Boston College. Fred Robbins. Fred Robbins stuck around for a while. It was 180 games. Yeah, I think that... Did he win a ring with the Giants? Maybe, maybe not. Doug Chapman, no. Tyrone Carter coming out of the U. What's up? Troy Walters. Troy Walters was supposed to be that guy, man. Coming out of Stanford. He was supposed to be that dude. It just never really worked out. But, I mean... There's various hits. I mean, 2000 was whatever. 2001, Michael Bennett, no. Never Trust a Badger. Willie Howard, Eric Kelly, Chuck Wura, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, 2001, you can put that up there. I wouldn't be mad at you. But 2002, Bryant McKinney, Hall of Fame, just God-given talent. Wish he had just a little bit better work ethic. But Ronald Smith, Willie Offord, Brian Williams. I did like Brian Williams for a hot second. I thought that he was a really solid cornerback, too. And then you get into 2003, Kevin Williams, when the Vikings were at 7. They dropped down to 9. So, man, EJ, if he didn't get hurt, he was my guy. I loved EJ. Loved me some Nate Burleson. Wish he would have signed a second contract here with the Vikings, but he was the revenge off of the poison pill. So the Vikings signed Steve Hutchinson from the Seahawks for poison pill, and then the Seahawks got back with their own poison pill. They gave Burleson like a 7-year, $49 million deal, which was unheard of. Yeah, Ontario Smith. And the Vikings drafting a punter. Keenan Howry out of Oregon was supposed to be a guy, but no. 2004, so Kenichi Odezi, he was a stud. Fortunately, he got sick, curtailed his NFL career after only 51 games. Dontarius Thomas was an okay linebacker. So, yeah, we get into here. Mewaldy Moore was a solid 3rd down running back. Jeff Dugan, I liked him as a blocking tight end. On Madden back in the day, I would always jack up his blocking numbers, and he would be my blocking tight end. It'd be good, but 2004 was up there. But then we get to 2005. So the leader in the clubhouse right now is definitely 2005, because Troy Williamson at 7, with the pick that you got from the Raiders for Randy Moss, you pick a South Carolina wide receiver who's fast, who cannot catch. You try to correct his vision with orange and green glasses and rods and cones, trying to fix this, but no. It did not work. Erasmus James from the Badgers did not work out. Marcus Johnson was nah. He started for a hot second. He was not great. Dustin Fox, cornerback out of Ohio State, was not good. Cedric Faison was whatever. C.J. Mosley actually stuck around for a long time. Bounced around the league. And it is confusing because there's a linebacker named C.J. Mosley, formerly of the Ravens. I think he's on the Jets now. But yeah, 2005, especially given the high-profile bust that Troy Williamson was, and the rest of the class was completely... No, this one is certainly up there for the worst class. 2006, yeah, Greenway, Griffin, Ryan Cook, T-Jack, R.I.P., Ray Edwards, Noted pugilist, boxer, Ray Edwards. Great. Let's see, 2007. So 2007 was the first draft that Spielman was involved in. Adrian Peterson, that's a pretty good first pick. Sidney Rice, damn good second round pick. Where there was a big kerfuffle taking Sidney Rice 2 years after Troy Williamson, where Williamson was still on the roster. Like, scouting the helmet thing. Oh, you're taking another South Carolina wide receiver. Sidney Rice was just slightly different than Williamson. If he had stayed healthy, could have had a nice career. B-Rob in the 4th round, absolute value at that spot. I love it. 2008. So 2008 could be up there, but it wasn't a full suite of picks because you notice no first, no third. They also traded back in the 4th because this was the Jared Allen year where they traded a first and a third and a future third for Jared Allen. So do you factor that in? Maybe, but also you found Sully in the 6th round, so that was the saver for the small class. Percy and Phil 1-2. I mean, come on, baby, I love it, man. In the 2010. So this was the draft after, the 2009 fiasco. The Vikings traded out of the 1st round. I believe it was with the Lions. They took running back Javid Best coming out of Cal. But the Vikings taking Chris Cook. Toby Gerhart, where you had Adrian Peterson, and you just take Toby Gerhart. Sure, we'll forgive you. Well, no, you traded up for Toby Gerhart. I forgot about that. We'll forgive you because you got Everson in the 4th. And then also, Joe Webb. And I still believe if the Vikings had just picked a course for Joe Webb, quarterback or wide receiver, he could have panned out. I mean, he still bounced around the league, so respect to that. 2011, so you whiffed on Ponder at 12. Kyle Rudolph in the 2nd round was an absolute stud. Ballard busted. Burton, no. DeMarcus Love, no. Mr. Raymond. Fusco started for a while, and then he flip-flopped at guard spot, and then he tore his pec, and then he just was not the same. 2012, I mean, 1 out of 2 ain't bad, so you whiffed on Khalil at 4, even though you can't really blame the Vikings. Like, Khalil, by everyone's metrics, was going to be the can't-miss franchise left tackle. Plus, it wasn't a great tackle class. There was only one other tackle drafted in the 1st round, and ironically, it was Riley Reif, taken in the 20s by the Lions. But you get Harrison Smith, you trade in and get him at 29. Respect. Josh Robinson. I like Josh Robinson. Like, he showed a little bit of life once Zimmer got here, and then he had that game against Chicago where Alshon and Brandon Marshall just destroyed him. It wasn't good. Jairus Wright in the 4th. That's great value. Also, remember, Jairus Wright and Greg Childs were supposed to be that 1-2 duo because it was Jairus and Childs and Joe Adams at Arkansas that went 3 deep. A great wide receiver core. But Greg Childs just could not stay healthy. Those knees, man. Those knees. Like, he could and should have been a great wide receiver, and maybe he still would have been playing if those knees held up. Blanton. This started the string of Spielman drafting teammates. So Harrison Smith, hey, Robert Blanton, come on down too. Also, Blanton was the originator of our stat Blanton tackles, where your guy in coverage catches the ball and then you tackle him. But at the end of the day, you have like 12 tackles in the stat sheet, and everyone's like, oh, people who don't watch the games, all the national media people are just like, oh, Robert Blanton is a great safety. Okay. Yeah, Blair Walsh, Audie Cole. Yeah, I love Audie Cole. Was the starter for a hot second. Then you get into Sharif, Xavier's, that's good. Barr, Teddy Crichton, McKinnon. McKinnon in the 3rd was great value. Also, Shamar Stephan, he's not a starter level guy, but getting a high-end rotational dude in the 7th round, that was big. And the only one of recent drafts that I would put in there was 2016. So Treadwell, not so much. Then you also had Mac Alexander in the 2nd. He's a very competent slot guy, so that's a nice little saving grace. Willie Beavers, by metrics at the time, was the worst offensive lineman in college football, and the Vikings just took him in the 4th. And remember, that was a year after taking T.J. Clemmings. So Spielman ignores the offensive line. No, Spielman invested in the offensive line. He just took bad players during that time. Then Kentrell Brothers, who was a fine backup linebacker and special teams guy. Morris Jerome, Beringer. Oh, God. So Beringer would have been a UDFA. I don't know why the Vikings burned a 6th-round pick on him. I just don't. Where it was so odd, too, because Beringer, coming out of this German football league, the Schwäbisch Unicorns, I believe, and it was supposed to be this major PR thing, right? So this guy who has the size and metrics of Randy Moss, he can run like a 4.3 40 at 6'4", 220, and the Vikings drafted him mainly for PR, and then the media never talked to him. Like they didn't let him talk to the media, so I still don't know. I don't know. David Morgan was a solid tight end 2 for a hot second until his knee gave out. Weatherly, solid rotational guy in 7th. That's saving grace. Same thing with Jaron Kearse, was a solid safety for a while. But yeah, I mean, there's not enough to really save this class. So we're talking about modern day, like Zimmer era. 2016 was obviously the worst. But yeah, looking back in history, I do think that it has to be 2005. Just because the high profile bust of Troy Williamson, you had 2 first-round picks, man. And you gave away Randy Moss. Erasmus James was a bust. Marcus Johnson, no go. Dustin Fox washed out of the league. Although I believe Fox hosts like a radio show in Cleveland that apparently does pretty well. Cedric Faison, no. Mosley, no. So yeah, for my money, 2005 is the worst. It's got to be the worst. I mean, maybe 2004, having those back-to-back. Udeze had promise before he got sick. Molded more, maybe is a saving grace. But yeah, it was a dark time. Spielman was needed, man, because you had drafts like 2004, 2005. And yeah, 2006 was fine with Greenway and Griffin for a hot second. And even T-Jack too, but yeah. I'm voting 2005. But what are your thoughts on our thoughts? What do you think is the worst draft class in Vikings franchise history? Let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work? Post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.